This lady has more or less challenged me to talk about something that she didn't think I'd really want to talk about. Something about deserting her. What was it I did?
You left me by the cemetery.
What do you mean by the cemetery? Were we having a funeral?
No, it was dark outside.
Well, you see, it happened like this. Just an ordinary date. I don't know if we'd been to the movie or just went in to get a soda or what, but some of them rascals in that town where she lived were kind of harassing us. So I thought, well, we'll ditch them by pretending we're going to the county seat. So we headed south to Conway Springs. And then, after they dropped off and turned around, I took some roads I'd never been on. It was cutting back over towards her house. And, uh-oh, what happened?
He ran out of gas in the car.
Yeah, it was in the car.
So, he wasn't very oriented, so we were about 2 miles from my house. So I gave, oh no, he said, I'll just go up through town. Well, he's a big jock, you know. So I said, no, now you go this way. Well, guess what? He ran, not the way I told him to, but he ran through town, and that made it about 3.5 miles. So I sat there by the cemetery, and I sat there, and I sat there. No Dean, no Dean. I sat there. Well, he finally got there with some gas.
Well, what was the problem? Were there any spooks bothering you or anything?
Oh, I just thought it was a bit inconsiderate, since it was a date that you go off and leave your date by a cemetery.
Well, it was. So I had no idea we were by the cemetery. Had she told me, you know, she's so communicative. I'm supposed to be a mind reader. Always have been supposed to be a mind reader. If she had told me it was by the cemetery, we'd either left together or not, I wouldn't have left her. But I had no idea where we were, that there was a cemetery there.
Well, let me tell you, you know, young love doesn't notice all the little flaws here and there. That should have told me something. But do you know what? He's still just as observing after 60.5 years of marriage as he was when he left me at the cemetery.
Well, I'm telling you, I must be very observant.
Yeah.
Well, then there was another night.
Mm-hmm.
We double dated with Bob Poe and some other girl in the Conway Springs area. We'd taken Bob's girl home, and it had been raining, and Donna lived on a muddy dirt road. We got down to the house all right, and she said, well,
took a while to say goodnight, but then I told him that our house was the only house on the mile. And if you went west, it was uphill. If you went downhill, it meant a half a mile each way more that you had to drive. But I said, now don't you forget, you go east and don't you go west, because you won't make it. Well, I should have known then that, and he still thinks I don't know anything. So sure enough, he went west. And I was just getting my cold bedroom warmed up and knocking at the door. Who was it? It was Dean Riggs. He was stuck. Well, you know, he was a real rich boy. And
now watch it. That's enough out of there. My turn.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
He was a rich boy, and he and his family farmed with a tractor. Well, my dad, we were poor farmers, and my dad farmed with a team of horses. So the only hope was to get a horse to pull him out. So
horses.
Oh, excuse me, I wasn't there.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Well, he knew zero about putting harness on a horse. Bob Poe knew some, and I knew some, and between Bob Poe and I, we got that horse harnessed, and we all walked uphill and
got the old car pulled out, and by now it's getting dawn. And both my dad and her dad worked night shifts in the war effort. Her dad worked for Cessna, my dad worked for Boeing. And obviously we had created a little attention, because when the bus had come into Conway Springs, they'd gotten the word. And they didn't come alone. There was 4 or 5 other guys to see the show.
'Tis true. 'Tis true.
Heck, she loved me. That would have been the end right there. Incidentally, running out of gas, my younger brother once asked me, did you ever figure out why you didn't have much gas when you had the car? I never gave it any thought, just that we were poor, and for a long time it was during the war when there was gas rationing. Nah, he said, Dad just didn't want you to have much gas so you wouldn't be running around. You'd do what you going to do to the house, and if you're going to go to the show, but he wasn't going to put much more gas than was necessary. So I guess that time that we tried to make an escape from the hoodlums, oh, not hoodlums, those nice Conway Springs boys, violated by 2 or 3 miles what Dad thought we ought to be doing. Well, she's right. I still tend to think that sometimes I know at least as much as she does, and maybe even more.
Never happened.
Never happened. But we're still working on the problem.
Of being married?
Of being married? Yeah.